everyone. This is Randy Dick here, and I've got another incredible special guest for us here at Realtor Collective. That Agent Kelly. That's how he markets himself, but his name is Conor Kelly. But if you look on his IG, you'll see That Agent Kelly, and he's just crushing it. I love this young guy. I met him about 3 years ago. He's my competitor. He's working in my town, but I love the guy. Anyways, Conor sold 57 homes his first year. Get that, 57 homes. And how he did it was the most unique thing, and that's what I love about That Agent Kelly. He does it through social. Think about that. He is not cold calling. He is not door knocking. He is doing it through social. So I am so excited to introduce That Agent Kelly. Come on up, Conor. Woo! Okay.
Thanks for having me, man.
You're welcome.
Cool.
Let her rip.
All right, good to go. Guess I'll briefly cover my story for the people out there that don't know. But yeah, I did 57 deals my first year in the industry. Pretty much 100% off of TikTok, aside from like a few referrals here and there and a few friends from my sphere that wanted to buy. But I want to say like 40 to 45 of those came right from TikTok. So before real estate, I was a plumber, and I think it's important to quickly gloss over this because I built, the way I decided to build my business largely comes from the things that I experienced while plumbing. And I just found when I was doing that, I was spending I'd work 10 to 12 hours a day. I would drive unpaid an hour and a half both ways from like Abbotsford to downtown. And I pretty much hated everything that I was doing all the time, almost every single minute of my life, right? And then I would do like night shifts and on-call shifts and blah, blah, blah. And around that time, I was hearing people starting to talk about like crafting the life you want to live. Like, why are you doing all of this stuff you hate doing? Like, you don't have to live your life like this. Like, there are ways you can make money where you'll actually like what you're doing, right? So I put the quote up there. I don't know if I can actually swear, so I'm not going to say it. But at that point, I decided, okay, I saw all these influencers, and it seemed like everybody who I was kind of following for the last couple of years kind of started in real estate as a realtor. They graduated to like an influencer of some sort. Like they started as an influencer talking about being a realtor. Then they became like an investor, and then they graduated to something else. And I just thought the natural path, if I wanted to eventually be an influencer, was to start as a realtor, because that's, I didn't have any people that I could look up to in my life, or mentors or OGs or whatever, of people that were kind of doing what I wanted to do. And all of my mentors just kind of became the influencers that I followed, and they were all realtors that eventually graduated into the influencer role. So that's how I kind of went down that path, right? So starting off, when I first got into real estate, knowing that social media wasn't a right away thing, it was probably going to take 3 to 5 years is what I kind of thought. Was like, if I post every day in 3 to 5 years, maybe I won't have to do the active prospecting, the cold calling, the door knocking, all this other stuff. And I was doing it. I was doing like 50 to 75 cold calls a day. I was door knocking twice a week. I tried flyers. I tried everything. And then it just kind of got back to the starting point when I left plumbing. I was like, wait a minute, how am I doing all this stuff that I hate doing again? Like, I literally just left this thing that I hated everything I was doing, and now I'm in the exact same spot where I hate everything I'm doing again. So I kind of just went harder on social media from that point. I upped my videos from like once a day to 3 to 5 videos a day. And then about 3 months into the industry, I went to a pre-sale center and I shot a video for it. And I ended up selling 4 pre-sales in like an hour and a half at this one pre-sale center. And that's when I realized, like, okay, social media is like, this is actually, you can do this and make money. Like, I just made like basically 4 months of plumbing in the last hour and a half. I'm like, this is a real thing, right? So that's when I kind of started doubling down on the social media, treating it more realistically. And then basically by 6 months in the industry, I was full social media. I didn't call, I didn't door knock, I didn't do anything anymore. And I was just full out social media. I eventually started a podcast. A year later, I started a YouTube channel. I started posting more frequently on my Instagram stories. And I just spent 100% of my time prospecting, all on the social media side. And that led to 57 deals in that first year. So I don't know why it's not showing up at the top, but I think it says something along the lines of why I chose social media or something to the likes of that. And a lot of people these days, you'll notice, are like 19-year-olds driving Lamborghinis now. This is like a thing that happens. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but like all these young kids that have like, that like live in Ibiza and work 2 hours a day and drive a freaking Lamborghini, that hasn't been a thing until like the last 8 years. So I've been noticing this happen, and I've been noticing that everybody's doing it in the digital space, and everybody's doing it the exact same way. They're building a personal brand and then they're selling a product. And I just kind of knew that if I wanted to go social media and be a realtor and become an influencer, do all these things, likely I was going to have to build a personal brand to eventually, like when you get into business, you kind of always want to be thinking like, what's the next thing after I become successful in this? What's the next level within that field or that industry? And I think the next level above realtor is being realtor with a personal brand that has a product to sell. And that was one of the main reasons why I went with the social media route, because the way I look at it is I can build my today business via prospecting through social media, but at the same time, I'm building my future business. So I get to indirectly sell real estate because I have a personal brand on social media, but at the same time, I'm building the personal brand on social media, right? As opposed to if I just went with the cold calling method, I'd really only be building the real estate business as opposed to two businesses at the same time. So attention equals currency. So these are a lot of the main reasons and a lot of the, I guess, philosophies of why social media works. Number one, attention equals currency. It's always been this way. It's just the way that we got attention was different, right? So like even when you call somebody, you cold call somebody, you're basically asking for their attention for that like 2 or 3 minutes when you call somebody. Social media is a way to garner attention at scale, right? So instead of spending, 5 minutes on a phone call to get one person's attention, I can shoot a 5-minute YouTube video to get thousands of people's attention, right? And if you look in pretty much any industry, not always, right? I still don't think the outlier disproves the rule, but most of the time you'll find whoever has the most attention in that field is usually making the most money, right? Conor McGregor is a really good example of this because he's debatably not even like a top 5 UFC fighter of all time, but he pretty much revived that entire sport, and he's the highest paid UFC fighter of all time, right? And then he can take his personal brand and launch a whiskey line and sell that for $600 million or whatever he sold it for, right? So attention is the new currency. I shouldn't even say new. It's just always been that way. It's just become a bigger thing now that people are, I think social media has brought light to the fact that attention is the new currency, right? And within that, there's overvalued and undervalued attention. And people always get really mad at me when I talk about this because there's a lot of conventional ways of getting attention that I would consider to be overvalued attention, right? So as an example, people are willing to pay a couple $1,000 a month or whatever they cost for a billboard over Highway 1, right? Well, the attention isn't necessarily there anymore, right? Like the driver's looking at the road, the person in the passenger seat is on their phone, and the people in the back seat can't even see it, right? So why are you spending $4,000 a month on that, right? Then the people who actually look at that billboard, they don't see your personality. They have nothing to connect. There's no emotion there. They can't feel anything. There's nothing to remember you. There's just a face there, right? Sure, they know the name, but there's no actual connection to that name. Where you could take that same amount of money, and I'm not even saying run paid ads. I'm just saying this is where the attention is. What if you shot a video and just targeted your city and then ran the ad spend through the video as opposed to the billboard? Every single person in that city would see you every single day for like the next however long, and they would at least see like your personality, and there would be emotions and things to connect to your brand as opposed to just your face, right? Flyers, right? Like flyering an area. Now, that is overvalued attention. However, it does work for some realtors because it's worth it for them to pay the premium for that attention because they don't want to have to drive outside of their local market to sell homes, right? So maybe it's worth it to pay the premium to flyer that area. But if you're a brand new agent, I wouldn't be spending $700 to flyer 3,000 homes and then like 690 of those flyers are right in the recycling when you can just shoot a video that gets 3,000 views. So, supply and demand. This is basically how social media works, right? Just like the economy, this is exactly how social media works, right? So a lot of people talk about, oh, the algorithm's not showing my stuff, and the algorithm this, and, my content's sick, but it's just the algorithm that's screwing me over, and blah, 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 right? The whole thing operates on supply and demand. So if there's a demand for your video that is higher than the demand for somebody else's video, your video will show up on somebody else's feed, right? So to give you a really good example of how this actually works is Gary Vee was talking about TikTok for years and nobody was using it. But what ended up happening was, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, a lot of consumers moved over to TikTok and started consuming content on TikTok. None of the creators wanted to take the time to stop creating content on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else to move over to TikTok and then try it. So there were so few people on that platform creating the content, but you had all these people consuming it. And therefore it was so easy as a creator for your content to show up on somebody else's feed. And then once all these creators were blowing up and getting ridiculous views for the stupidest videos, then all the other creators started moving over to the platform, and that balanced out the supply and demand. And now today it's a lot harder to get those kinds of views on TikTok, but it's still a great platform to start on, I would say, right? So another point to add to that and why this works is a lot of people say, what's the best time of day to post content, right? Well, it doesn't really matter, right? I've had a lot of people saying, oh, you shouldn't post after 9:30 p.m. at night because everybody's asleep, right? Some of my most viral videos I posted at 10:30 at night. And the reason why is, yeah, most of the consumers are asleep, but so are all the creators. So it balances out. Again, it doesn't make a difference. So, and then number 4, just like attention equals currency, right? It's just leverage. Instead of spending 3-4 hours cold calling in a day to talk to 30 people, I can put out one video that gets seen by 50,000 people. And, it doesn't go as in depth as actually picking up the phone and having a conversation with people. But you can touch a lot more people in a way shorter amount of time, right? Number 5, I just hate it outbound prospecting. So, why you aren't using, I should say, social media. And I found there's typically 3 reasons why people don't. So number 1, you're scared of what people think. So I have a couple pieces of advice to overcome this. Number 1, a lot of people are worried about the fact that the people they know are basically going to talk bad about them behind their back once they start posting on social media. And the reason why people do that is because to them, once you first start posting on social media, it doesn't look like you're being yourself, right? You're not somebody who posts on social media. Why are you suddenly doing it now? It looks very authentic, or inauthentic, I should say, right? But what people do is they've created a version of you inside of their head. This is who Conor is. And the second you post something on social media, that's not Conor. He's being fake and inauthentic. Why is he being fake? Well, after you've been posting on social media for 2-3 months consistently, they just reinvent a new version of you in their head. Now it's normal for you to post on social media, and now there's nothing left to talk crap about, right? Another thing to add to that, if you're scared what people think, maybe start posting on the platforms where those people aren't, right? So you don't need to post on Instagram. You can start on TikTok. TikTok's one of those platforms that you can literally grow with 0 followers, right? Post on YouTube and just don't share the link on Instagram, right? Let the algorithm find the perfect person for that content, right? So here's a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that I like to refer to when people are scared of posting on social media. It's called The Man in the Arena. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But basically, maybe I'll start from over here. Spends himself in a word that goes, who at the best knows in the end of triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. If you post on social media, you're in the arena. The people who are hating on you, it's like somebody sitting in the top row of the Lakers game and saying LeBron James is a bad basketball player, right? You can't play basketball, bro. You're not in the arena. These people don't even have the balls to post on social media, and they're going to sit there and hate on you, but they can't do what you do. 2, you don't know what to post. I'm going to tell you. Tell a story. I'd say a lot of my most viral videos come from telling a story. People love to listen to a story as long as it's authentic and it actually happened, right? But there's a caveat to this. You can't just go on camera and just tell your story and expect people to care. So I always say, if you're going to tell a story, it should be story and then a lesson, right? Like, what's in it for me by listening to this story? So like, this is the problem that I had and I encountered and this happening, and this is the solution that I learned from going through that. 2, neighborhood tour videos or neighborhood videos, either or. I love these for new agents for a lot of reasons. Number one, I have the perspective that I don't think you should post anything on social media unless you actually know what you're talking about, right? So if you don't know about the macroeconomic environment of Canadian real estate, then you probably shouldn't make videos on that, because people in the comments are going to know and they will call you out on it 150%. But if you've lived in Surrey your whole life, you have the authority to talk on Surrey, because somebody who hasn't lived in Surrey doesn't know anything about Surrey. So you have the authority to talk about Surrey, right? So you can talk about things like, best neighborhoods, top 5 neighborhoods, pros and cons of living in this neighborhood, 5 things I wish I knew before moving to blank. All these kinds of videos do amazing. They do amazing on YouTube. You can short form them. Top 5 parks, top 5 restaurants. They all work amazing. I would do it as maybe a green screen behind me. Property tour videos. This one for new agents, this one right here is like if you just did that and you did that every day for 3 months, your business would be completely different. And I know this because I haven't had a single realtor who I've taught how to do this and has stayed consistent, and their business has not completely blown up within 90 days. It actually blows my freaking mind that I used to be a plumber and work in other people's crap for 14 hours a day, and these guys can't go and shoot a freaking property tour video every day. Takes an hour, man. Green screen videos. So these work amazing too. What I like to do on TikTok is I'll put like a rendering of a pre-sale project behind me, which, by the way, if you don't know what properties to shoot, there's like 80 pre-sale centers that you can walk in and shoot anytime, right? Green screen videos. So I'll put a rendering of a pre-sale behind me, starting price up here, talk about the project. I've sold many, many pre-sales just doing that, and those videos take 30 seconds to make, right? And like I said, you can green screen anything. Neighborhoods, projects, parks, restaurants, anything. And then this one's pretty market stats, whatever. Listicle videos. 3 reasons why. 5 things this. A listicle video is just like, 3, 5, 7. For some reason, odd numbers seem to capture people's attention a lot better. Pros and cons, right? And then you can mix and match all of these, right? Like top 3 pros and cons of living in blank neighborhood. Top 3 cons of moving to Surrey, right? And then there's rip off and duplicate, right? Everybody knows that. You see an idea you like, do the same idea, but then just your opinion and how you understand it, right? You don't need to come up with new ideas. Everybody thinks they need to come up with like this ridiculous philosophical idea that nobody's ever heard of to like blow up and get viral in one video. You don't. You can literally just take videos that other people make and then just put your own idea on it. Like, I will literally screenshot other people's posts and then just like add my opinion on the end of it. Or what I'll even do is I'll go to like somebody else's YouTube. I'll go to like Steve Karish's YouTube and I'll take his titles and I will make I won't even watch the video just so I don't plagiarize, but I take his idea and then I put my own opinion onto like his idea, right? So it's like you can just go on YouTube and there's thousands of millions of video ideas that you don't even need to think of. You don't think you need it because your business is already successful. These are my favorite people right here, right? Because I've got a lot of them around me. So I was taught by one of my mentors, and you can believe this or you can choose whatever method of belief you'd like, but this is the one that I believe. And it's what he taught me, is that the purpose of life is to create the best version of yourself and give that person to the world, right? And that's kind of how humans have evolved over the years. That's what, we learn from past generations, passing down teachings and lessons and writings and whatever, right? And I think a lot of people out there in real estate have already done half of this. They created the best version of themselves, or they created the person of themselves that the old version of them would admire, but they haven't given that person to the world, right? I have a bunch of realtors around me that are making like $1 million, 800 grand, whatever, like close buddies of mine that they've solved so many crazy problems in their life and they've been through so much crap, but they don't ever talk about it. So you can't actually help other people. You can't pass down those teachings. You can't help the younger generation grow faster than you did and outshine the mentor type of deal, right? So outside of just like making more money within real estate, right? Like, what is the reason why we do all of this stuff? Because I think at the end of it all, it's just to like help people, right? We make money so we can help other people in our family and our friends and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's what social media does, right? So like, I'll share a story with you guys. I made a video on like why you shouldn't smoke cigarettes, because I used to smoke and drink and do all that stuff. And this video went like insanely viral, like 900K views. And then people started messaging me and be like, bro, I think that video saved my life. Like I got like 3 or 4 messages from it. So I started looking into the statistics, and it was like 11% of people in the US smoke, and 30 to 50% of those people will die due to smoking related causes. So I was like, hey, 900K views, that's like 90,000 people, and at least 30% will die, but as high as 50. So 30,000 to 45,000 people who watch this video will die from smoking. So statistically speaking, it is literally impossible that that video literally didn't save a life, right? Like that 15-second video or whatever, somebody's going to watch that, and that will be like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and they stop smoking, and then like they will remember that video for their entire life, right? And I know it sounds freaking ridiculous, like a TikTok video saving somebody's life, but I know it did because I had the same thing happen to me in 2020. I was watching these like stupid YouTube videos with like B-roll, and then there'd be like motivational music playing in the background. Never watched these videos, but for some reason I was watching this that night, and it was like a clip of Jordan Peterson, who everybody hates now, but I was watching this at the time, and he said, he was like, stop doing all the stupid shit you know you shouldn't be doing. Imagine where your life would be if you just stopped doing that. And in that moment I sat there, and it was like right around beginning of May 2020, and I was like, wow, like I am doing a lot of stupid stuff right now. So May 9th, woke up after a night of drinking, completely quit everything, and then my life just took off like a rocket after that. So that one video and that one sentence literally changed my life forever, right? And if you go and you put out content every day, it is improbable and borderline impossible that you won't completely change somebody's life by just like putting out the right sentence at the right time, right? I don't know why I can't read this. Building a personal brand. 2 birds, 1 stone. I talked about this earlier, right? I'm building my future business while building my today business, right? And here's the thing about building a personal brand. This is what I teach a lot too, is like when everybody talks about social media, people talk about hashtags, the algorithm, time of day to post, and all this other stuff. I like to talk about the person, right? Because at the end of the day, people follow people, right? So if you want to improve the personal brand, why don't you just improve the person, right? Like a big part of social media is pattern disruption. There's so much crap on your timeline all the time. How do you stand out? The easiest way is for you yourself to be a pattern disrupt, right? That makes somebody want to stop scrolling. So that's why it's like you see all these guys that have like Lambos and Rolexes and blah, 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 blah in their videos. It's because it's a pattern disrupt. People stop to actually watch the video because that's there. So, you know, I think a lot of people that are struggling on social media, if they come to me with advice, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, bro, it's because you use this hashtag. I'd be like, well, it's probably because, and like not to put you down or anything, but like you should probably go to the gym. You should probably stop drinking flights of craft beer, maybe eat a little bit better, and you'd probably be a better pattern disrupt, and people probably respect you more and want to listen to more of what you have to say, right? Like that's just the reality of social media. And then I don't even remember what that one is down there, but the way to be successful on social media. So volume, I posted like 6,500 videos before I ever like saw any real success on social media. Even on my Instagram, it pisses me off because like one of the guys that I taught, like his Instagram blew up in like 6 months. I posted like 700 videos on Instagram over 2.5 years before my page went from like 2,500 followers to like 20,000. Took 2.5 years before I had one video that took off. And then this guy who I've been training is just like in the first 6 months. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever, right? So volume will help you, will fix everything, right? You can't get to quality without quantity, right? You have to put reps in, you have to build the skills, you have to build the proper habits, you have to post thousands of videos. Like, I'm at the point now where I know what content will perform well before I even post it because I've shot so many freaking videos, right? When people are like, oh yeah, I just try to focus on quality, how do you know what that is? How do you know what quality is, right? You haven't shot enough videos to actually know what's going to perform well, right? 2, consistency. This is the most important thing of everything. I do not miss posts. I have posted every freaking day since I've held a real estate license. I think I maybe missed one day in October 2022 when I was in Banff on a vacation. Other than that, I have posted every single day regardless. I will post at midnight and I will post the crappiest video that means absolutely nothing just to make sure that that video gets posted. Because the fact that it's posted is more important than it actually performing well, right? When you don't post, just like you miss days in the gym, it starts screwing with your mental and your psychology, and you start having a lesser view of yourself, and then you start performing a lot worse, and you don't show up on camera the same way, and you start having all these internal battles with yourself once you miss that post. So you can't. You have to post. 3, mindset. If you have the proper this, you'll do that, right? 4, trial and error. Again, if you're consistent and you focus on volume, you're going to figure out what works, right? Number 5, polarizing / opinions. So I have an opinion on this. I don't think you should ever post something on social media unless it has some type of like value or entertainment, right? And I think when it comes to building a brand, whenever you share information, it's really tough to have value or entertainment without an opinion, right? So, and basically your brand is opinions. That's all your brand is. It's just what you think about stuff is your brand, right? So whenever I'm giving information on anything, the Bank of Canada just cut rates, a neighborhood, whatever it is, it's always, this is the information and this is my opinion on the information. I don't ever just give information. It's always followed up with an opinion on the information, right? And how often should you post? Every day, at least once a day, depending on the style of content you're doing. I probably post at least 6 times a day, I want to say, across many platforms. And even that's like not very many for like the people out there that are actually doing social media. Put out like Alex Ramosi puts out like 300 pieces of content a week, something stupid like that. So that's that. This is the QR code to my Instagram. I do have something to sell you guys. It's called The Viral Agent. It's my social media course. You can find it on my Instagram. I don't even know what the price is right now, but if you're interested in getting onto social media, I'll show you guys how to do all of that. The property tours, all that stuff is in that course. So you can check that out if you like to.
Awesome. Awesome. I got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So we're talking about prospecting lanes. And every agent out there needs to pick a lane. You either need to pick a new lane or to get clarity on your lane. And a lot of agents think that social media is their lane. Mm-hmm. But it's not easy. I mean, you just shared that it took you how many years before you actually got some traction? About 1.5 years?
Yeah, before I saw any like real success was like 2.5 years probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
2.5 years. Are you prepared? Are you prepared to put 2.5 years in this lane? Because if you are, you'll have success, because it is unbelievable when you do catch fire. But it takes time, and the consistency of doing that, posting at midnight just to say, I posted, unbelievable, unbelievable. If you were to pick a platform for our listener out there, for our viewer on the webinar, what would be the first platform that you say I'm going all in on?
I would say Instagram. Well, YouTube is definitely the best, but I think YouTube requires a much more diverse skill set. And I think for most new agents, Instagram is going to be the easiest way to get started. So I would say Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram. And if I heard correctly, if you guys heard correctly, what the value of social is that you can be touching thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in one sitting versus one at a time, whether you're door knocking or not. That's the real value of social, correct?
100%.
And they get to see who you are. They get to see your personality, and they get to build trust, because hey, this business is all about trust.
Absolutely.
It's all about trust. It is all about trust. And if they're just in the motion of liking you, that's not enough. They got to love you in order to trust you. And this is the value of doing social.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right on.
Great.